Good evening. Today is November 20th, 2018, and this is a meeting of the Shrewsbury Conservation Commission. Our first item is to review and approve minutes, and we do not have any minutes to approve tonight. So moving on to our second item, to sign the bills, which we do have. Apparently it's only one. Moving on to item 3, meetings and hearings. Our first hearing is a continued public hearing. It's regarding the notice of intent filed by 6 Sherrill Drive Realty Trust for the construction of a driveway crossing to service a single-family lot, construction of a single-family house, pool and associated site work at 6 Sherrill Drive. And for the record, I wasn't in attendance at the first hearing, so I will not vote on the outcome, but will participate in the comment section.
Thank you. For the record, John Grenier, J.M. Grenier Associates. The plan that we have before you is revised from what was the original submission. The original submission was a custom house that also included a pool, and that was for a specific client or buyer. My 6 Sherrill Realty, that deal fell through, so what they're before you now with is for what's going to be a spec home. It's a smaller footprint than what was with the original submission. The house got relocated. It got pushed a little bit further to the east. You can see where there's a side yard setback. We pushed it a little bit as far as we could. So at the front left corner is really pinned up against that side yard setback. So it's as far away as we could get it away from the resource area. The driveway now accesses obviously off of Sherrill Drive on the easterly side, and it runs parallel with the wetland line, and there is a side load garage for access into the house. That will be a grass slope along the border of the wetland. There is also a small crossing at the street. The wetland flows from west to east and then narrows down. There's kind of a channel that flows parallel with the frontage. There will be a 12-inch polyethylene culvert pipe that will allow the flow to run underneath the driveway. That will cause about 470 square feet of wetland fill. That is going to be replicated with about 718 square feet just adjacent to that, to the south of there, along the edge of the existing wetland between flags, what are 15 through 18 in this area. So we're replicating that at I believe 1.5 to 1. We're also recharging the roof runoff through some recharge chambers that would be off of the southwest portion of the house. There would be a couple of small retaining walls. This is a garage under, so there'll be living area on the first floor above the garage. And so there's a couple of small wing walls to make upgrade both on the north and the south side of the garage. The wetland flags were reestablished in the field by BNR survey. This had been cut as part of another order of conditions. That never happened. That was 3.5 or more years ago. So it was cut as part of work under another order of conditions. That expired. So the wetland flags were reestablished in the field by field survey. BNR survey went out there probably within the past month or so. It's a little, when everything starts to grow back up, it gets really thick and nasty in there with a lot of scrub and burrs and whatnot, but they made it out in the field. They reestablished that line. We're staying, none of the house is within the 30-foot wetland buffer. It just kisses it at the corner of where the garage is. So the house itself is outside the 30-foot buffer. We will be, any slopes that are 2 to 1, which there might be a little bit on either side of the driveway crossing, because we are trying to keep that narrow. We'll have some jute netting on either side of that to make sure that that slope gets stabilized quickly. The reason why we do have a little bit of a steeper slope there is just to keep any of the disturbance in the wetland as narrow as possible. I think that's pretty much most of it. Again, we took the pool out, the house got reduced in size because now it's a spec house, it's not custom, so the amount of disturbance on site is quite a bit less than it was before, and I think this is a better plan than what was originally submitted, seeing as it's not for the requirements of a custom buyer, it's more just for a spec. So we tried to keep a smaller footprint and keep everything as far away as we can to the wetland. Oh, I did have a conversation with Brad, and we discussed where the driveway will be running along the wetland. It'd be nice to have some physical barrier or delineation so nobody starts to creep out. So if the board wishes to have a split rail fence, and maybe a mix of some plantings, whether they be some blueberry bushes or some arborvitaes, we're fine with anything that the board would want along those lines in terms of just making sure that's a delineated barrier along the edge of the driveway. So a split rail fence with, again, any plantings, we're fine with anything like that as well.
I was gonna ask about the driveway because I'm looking at the slope and the fact that it's really at the edge of the wetlands, so you probably wanna put something to mitigate runoff and anything that drips on the driveway, so that vegetation barrier would be nice.
Okay.
Okay, that's all I have.
Yep. Jason?
No questions.
Bob?
All set.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? I just have one, John. On the distance from the edge of the pavement to the wetland, and the shortest, that looks like it's about 5 feet, roughly, near wetland flag 18. And we've had some problems now popping up around town where we've had these barriers, fence and arborvitaes, and people have removed them over the years, 20 years down the line, it's gone. Is there a way to put a scattered big boulder along, mixing it in with the landscaping,
Something that's a
just so
little
it's not gonna look like a wall, but that it's a defined line that we can keep them, yeah, because we can't police these things 20 years down the line, and
Understood. Yeah, that's not a problem. If you want to have that,
especially in the tighter, in the
yeah, I was
tighter
gonna say
areas.
between, like halfway between 18 and 19 to, almost number 17. Even though there's some replication there, that will be eventually wetland, so we want to
Yeah.
protect it, and that is the
Yeah,
closest portion.
yeah, I would say, that looks
Okay.
fair.
We'll scatter a few boulders in
Yeah,
there.
make them decent size too, so that it just don't roll them out of the
Right,
way.
right.
Okay,
Understood.
okay.
What size should they be, John?
2 by 3?
Yeah, I was
3
gonna
foot, 3 foot diameter?
3 foot diameter,
Yeah,
minimum.
yeah.
All right, so we'll add 3 foot boulders and a split rail fence.
And the vegetation.
And then on the other side of the fence, we'll put in probably a mix of shrubs and bushes. Would you prefer something more habitat friendly, something?
The selections that you've got here in number 3 under the wetland replication, they look fine.
Okay.
Any further questions? All set? Okay, we'll close the hearing, John.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Rise Nardale Chavero, 198 South Quinsigamon Ave, Shrewsbury, has filed a notice of intent for the removal of trees at 198 South Quinsigamon Ave. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, November 20th. This one says October 16th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
My name's Robert O'Neill. I prepared this plan that's before you. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Chaviero. He recently just purchased 198 South Quinsigamon Avenue. And his intention is to do some work on the house. He has pulled a permit to replace the roof. But he would also like to remove roughly 15 to 16 trees that are on the site. Most of the trees, or all the trees actually, are at the rear of the property. And a lot of them have basically kind of lived their life. There's a 46-inch oak, a 45-inch oak over in here that's in pretty bad shape. This one's actually almost hollow. He's also got a 42-inch ash that actually stands out over the roof of the house that he did receive permission to somewhat trim it, but he'd like to completely remove it as well. His intention is to come in with a bucket truck as far as he can and reach it, and then the remaining ones down here, the gentleman that he's hired to do the removal will actually climb the tree and trim them. We're proposing just to put approximately 200 linear feet of hay-bale siltation fence around the area to protect the lake. And he'll remove the stumps by grinding them as opposed to trying to get in there and dig them out. Pretty straightforward. All the work falls within 100 feet of the lake, which obviously triggers your review. I'm more than happy to answer any questions regarding this work.
Arthur?
He wants to take out all the trees that are listed here?
Most of the trees, with the exception of the pines at the top, are in pretty tough shape. A few trees at the pines are at the top are kind of scraggly, so he'd like to remove those as well. But I don't know if anyone's had an opportunity to look at it. They've pretty much lived their life.
Does he have replanting plans?
Not at this time, but I think his intention was to get these out of here and look at maybe some low-growth vegetation that he could put in there so that he could also enjoy the view of the water. As you can see from the plan, there's approximately a 28-foot drop from the rear of the house down to the retaining wall in his dock.
Okay, I'm set, thank you.
Jason?
Yeah, I mean, with that amount of trees gone, I'd like to see a replanting plan,
Okay.
but that's just me. That's all I have to say.
Okay.
We're ripping out a lot.
Bob?
No comment.
Ben?
The only thing I can say, I've noticed, especially with larger trees close to the edge of the water, some of them have fallen into the lake. So, you know, I wouldn't be opposed to cutting the trees down closer to the water and removing them. I've seen some of them fall in and they can't get the tree out, or some of the people have hired a crane to physically cut it and remove it, which becomes a real project, so I wouldn't really be opposed to cutting of the trees.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? Just a question for you is,
Yes.
I know you're stating the health of the trees has been compromised, or they've reached the end of their life type thing. Is there any assessment done for this, or whose statement is that? That they've reached the end of their life?
Basically, visually going out there locating it, you could, these three in here are almost hollow. They're actually kind of dangerous.
But, so it's danger, not health, and the,
Well, the tree itself
yeah.
is hollowed out.
Oh,
It's-
hollow.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sorry,
hollow.
yeah,
Okay.
it's
I
just
didn't
nothing
see
left
that.
to the
Oh,
interior.
okay, yeah, oh, definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
that's there's no way, I mean, I'm trying to look, how many trees overall are we talking? We're talking probably close to 10,
Probably more like 12 or 14.
that many,
Yes.
and you can't leave a tree up for,
I believe his intention is to leave the trees at the top of the slope. It's just along the slope here, there's some smaller, kind of scrubby pines. We located anything that was over 6 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, the lower ones towards the water really are in tough
yeah,
shape.
and like Ken said, if that's an issue with the ones close to the waters, but, just to take them all down, I don't know, Martha, what's the words of wisdom here for?
So the trees are actually managing a lot of the water on the property for you, or for him. And when those come down, he might see drainage issues around the house, just to forewarn you of that. I certainly see the safety issue and the concern about the trees going into the lake. The property will be denuded without the trees. It'll have a very different feel, and, as long as it's okay with the commission, that's
How about
fine for him to.
habitat-wise?
You're gonna lose a lot of habitat. Even the older trees, the hollow ones, provide habitat for things like owls and chickadees and cavity nesters. And it's very natural for a tree to be hollow as it ages. So yeah, there's going to be habitat loss. There's going to be changes in the water retention and the water management on the property. There will be a loss of shade, so you'll lose that mitigating effect on the house as well.
Yeah, I'm just a little concerned that we take all of those down, say 14 trees, we don't have a replanting plan in front of us. So it's basically a denuded lot, like you
Right.
mentioned.
And I
It is-
think what we want to be wary of is we want to protect the lake resource.
I know.
That's the primary thing here.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
I'm a little confused. You labeled, or you noted all trees over 6 inches?
Yes.
We'd assume that any other tree under 6 inches will be clear cut?
It's basically just some scrub. It's even probably maybe an inch to 2 inch in diameter. It's just scrub growth. There really wasn't
So you'll
anything.
end up with a totally clear cut slope.
Initially, yes, but I mean, his intention would be, it's obviously it's his yard. He will replant, but he's looking towards something that's low growth as opposed to a tree.
But the two are intertwined. I mean, you take
Understood,
it
yeah,
down and you
understood,
really
yeah.
say, and in place of it, here's my plan. If we give an order of conditions to take them down, there's nothing saying he's coming back in anytime soon with a replanting plan.
We can ask for that.
Yeah, I would,
As you can imagine, he's got small children.
yeah,
And his concern is to get the unhealthy ones
Yeah.
yeah,
initially,
well,
as well as the one that's really over at the back portion of his house.
yeah, and I fully understand that too, but is there a way he can come in with a plan and we can close this in a month from now? It's,
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I presume he wasn't gonna do it till the spring anyway.
He actually would like to do it within the
Okay,
next
get on
couple of
that
weeks if
slope.
it was possible.
Yeah.
At least the removal and,
The ones in the
as
front
far as
have already
grinding
been
out the
cleared.
stumps, he could wait on that.
The ones in the front have all already been cleared.
Oh, he's already done some
The
clearing.
ones in the front outside the buffer zone, yeah, all the ones shown in the front of the plan.
Let's do that.
yeah. All right, Kit, would you entertain an extension till next month, rather than us closing it and debating whether to give you an order of conditions?
would he be allowed to go forward and remove any of the trees at this time?
Can we do any hazardous ones under a special
You just wait,
condition, Brad?
just wait.
Just wait,
Think just wait, Kent, there.
yeah. He's gonna do it all. at
48-inch
no.
one's been there
gonna wanna do
probably,
it all
what,
at
a
once.
century and a half? A 48, I mean, you know, those big guys, oh, they know there's an ash near the house,
Yeah,
too.
that one is probably one of his bigger concerns because he's trying to put a new roof on.
Yeah.
And,
How far is that from the lake, the resource? What's the scale on this thing? 10
it's
scale,
about 50 feet away.
110.
50 feet?
Yes.
John,
Yep.
if I recall, I talked to the homeowner early on about that one and had already mentioned he can prune anything off that he needs to work on that roof. I wouldn't have an issue with that.
Okay.
Or if you wanna let him take the whole tree down, that's fine, but I already gave him the go-ahead to
To do
prune,
it,
to do the roof,
pruning and
right?
then,
Yeah.
is that okay?
That-
To do a prune and then he
Yeah,
can get his
if-
roof on
If
and then
the
he can
board's
come in and
desire.
do the,
And I would think with the planting plan, you'll want to pay attention to controlling any erosion close to the lake, especially,
Okay.
and runoff.
let me throw out some ideas of what you're looking for, Martha, in terms of what would be good for a slope like this, low growth, the blueberry.
Blueberry or juniper or anything that is going to stop, you know, if you were to plant this in long grass and then start fertilizing it, you want to keep that fertilizer out of the lake, so you want to put that barrier of the shrubs in there. So, native, silky dogwood, junipers, high bush, blueberry, things like that.
Okay.
All right,
Those will be low.
Yes,
The
please.
green card.
Brad, when's our next meeting, December what?
December 18th.
Rob, we'll continue this hearing until December 18th, okay? And we'll see you then. Okay, you're welcome. All right, we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of general laws, chapter 131, section 40, that Schweikel and Reshma Josie, 4 Woodside Drive, Shrewsbury, have filed a notice of intent for a wetland replication area at 4 Woodside Drive. A public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, November 20th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening, James.
Hi, Mr. Chairman, excuse me, James Tatro from Thompson List and Associates, here representing the Yoshis. And as you read, what is proposed is a wetland replication area, and let me just fill you in on the background of why we're proposing that. Back circa 1997, this lot was first developed and sold in 1998 to the McGinnises. The McGinnises in late last year, late 2017, sold to the Yoshis. The Yoshis' lawyer, as sometimes happens, looked back through the title and said, well, wait a minute, there's something here that hasn't been addressed. There's an order of conditions that applied to this property that was never released with a certificate of compliance. We approached Mr. Stone and asked what would it take to get a certificate of compliance to get this off the title. And he looked into it, and it was agreed that in this area here, behind the house over here, and off the back left corner over here, that in the course of development of the property back in 1997, that some wetland had certainly been filled. And there was some more discussion back and forth to try and figure out what's the best way to deal with that. This is actually would be pretty close to the house if you tried to replicate right in that spot. This would be a little more distant, but what we proposed to make up for the incursion here and here back in 1997 was to create a wetland replication area off to the side. And I'm just going to show you the picture just for a second here. This is from the wonderful Google surveillance cameras. This is the house. Again, I'll just flip back here. Again, here's your existing house. Here's, this is tree line, the scallop green line here off to the side. And this is from street view. Again, here's that tree line. And what we're proposing is to create a wetland replication area that's about half in the lawn and half in the tree line, into the tree line, of 1,600 and some square feet, which would be a 1.8 to 1 ratio to the wetland field, again, here directly behind and here off the back left corner. We developed a plan for it in consultation with Mark Arnold of Goddard Consulting. We would, again, excavate, it's 2 feet and actually in some cases deeper than 2 feet down to get to appropriate elevation, bring back some loam and more suitable materials, plant, I think it was 2 trees and 21 shrubs. There were winterberry, holly, spicebush, blueberry, sweet pepper bush, that was the other one, and cinnamon fern, in addition to a couple trees. And in fact, I think one of the contractor folks who have been looked at for doing the work actually came back and said, you know, there's a large tree, he said, right here, a red maple. He said, you know, could we keep that? And we probably actually would end up keeping that one significant tree that he noticed. So again, what we're proposing is, because work in 1997 to 98, when this lot was first developed, filled wetland here and here, 595 square feet approximately, 290 here, 885 total. We want to create a wetland replication area of just over 1,600, 1.8 to 1 ratio. We would also install a split rail fence delimiting this to help set it off and hopefully discourage a little, at least, future alteration. But as opposed to, as this looks now, this being it's kind of it's not quite shown in this picture, it's a moderate slope downward. You would have the moderate slope downward and then a more rapid slope downward as you approach this when you're getting the appropriate grade. So it would always be pretty obvious where the wetland replication area was, but we are, again, proposing a split rail fence in addition. I'll just leave that and I'll try and answer any questions.
Martha?
What other kinds of trees are there besides red maple? Right
I'm
now?
not sure what else is there. I know I always think, when I always see silky dogwood, and I think wood
That's
tree.
a shrub,
but-
that's a shrub.
Yeah, it is a large shrub, but I'm not sure what else was there besides that. Again, we consulted with Mark Arnold of Goddard Consulting, what would be an appropriate tree, and he came back with red maple.
So red maples are a good wetland tree. Yellow birch is also a good wetland tree if they want to try and maintain some of that tree characteristic. It's kind of hard to see trees cut down to make a wetland replication area.
Yeah.
That's my comment.
I understand, and again, this area is, this wetland, what you see, the hatching, is the proposed wetland replication area. It's really about half in and half out. Ideally, we would have liked to have replaced this exactly in place. It's just that it's so close to the house, it's probably a more realistic location over here, where again, this tree line is 65 feet off the house. This is just, 10 feet was the old one, which is probably why it ended up, the builder, it had an incursion.
Just be filling in.
Jason?
Yeah, I was gonna ask that, it may be an ignorant question, but why don't they just put the wetland back where it was?
Well, it just, a wetland this close behind the house is just much more likely to have somebody alter it via actually actively trying to alter it. This is 11 feet, as opposed to, this would be 48 feet. It just would be better protected from future incursion in this location. Even if the present owner is cognizant of it and has no intention, again, over time, that proximity to the house is just a tough, it's just very close. So we just felt that
And you're replicating greater than 1 to 1, I think you said.
1.8 to 1. 1,600 and change square feet versus 885 in these two areas.
Bob?
I would agree with you. If you just reestablish the wetland that was filled, its life would probably be pretty limited. You know, whereas, putting it over here, you know, yeah, we're gonna lose some trees, but I think that's a very temporal situation. If you're gonna replant it in 15, 20 years, hopefully you'll have a good stand again. So, I guess I'm all set, Mr. Chairman.
Ken?
I'm all set.
Brad? James, you heard us talking about the split rail fence, and over time again, what happens? And I know you're mentioning the slope would be the deterrent for them to fill.
It'd be a solid demarcation, because this all of a sudden becomes a 3-to-1 slope right here, just as you approach it.
Probably, when you said you was like 50 feet from the,
It's 48 feet from the house to the edge over here, so you're gonna be about 40 feet to the beginning of that slope. And again, the slope itself is a pretty solid demarcation, that if there were alteration beyond it and the lawn extended to the toe of that slope, it would immediately be apparent that, okay, something was done here because the wetland was.
All right. Anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this hearing? Okay, there being none, we'll close it.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, we have a new, what they call a meeting. It's a request for determination of applicability. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that James and Kate Bailey, 5 Amherst Road, Shrewsbury, have filed a request for determination of applicability for the replacement of a deck with a 3-season enclosure at 5 Amherst Road. Public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, November 20th, in the Selectmen's meeting room. Good evening.
Hello, how are you?
Good.
So, we're here just to, we have a,
Just for the record, state your name.
I'm sorry, I'm James Bailey and my wife Kate.
Yep.
We're here to discuss replacing an unsafe deck on the back of our house. And we fall within the 100-foot buffer zone to wetlands. So what we're proposing to do is take the unsafe deck down and replace it with a deck with a 3-season enclosure above that. It's in a condition that was not taken care of over the last 15 years, and just, it's unstable at this point, so we just need to replace it to make it safe for our family to be, continue enjoying it.
Martha, can you see this is?
The footprint is the same as the existing one that you're replacing?
It's gonna be 2 feet longer to the west.
The west, okay, thank you. What's that?
Jason?
No question.
Bob?
where's, Brad, where's the resource area here, and why are these people before us?
Well, if you remember from the last meeting, this was the lot that had all the historical fill.
Yeah.
Here, the existing resource area is right up over in this area here. There's a culvert that comes in, the road stream comes from.
They bought it
There
in,
you go, right there,
and
yep.
the prior owner had filled.
Oh,
That was where they
So
provided you with the
what's-
documents.
What's still there is here, up, and there.
Yeah.
Yep.
okay. All right, and is this an addition, or is this a simple replacement in place?
It's simple replacement. Take the old deck down and put a new deck up.
Okay.
With a 3-season above it, that's the
Yeah,
only
on
change.
top.
It's one
on
level
top of
up.
it.
I remember that, okay, I'm all set.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
I'm all set.
Does anyone in the public have any questions or comments? Okay, I don't see any. I have a question for you guys. Remember last time we were talking about pursuing the prior owner? how did you make out there?
We've reached out to a couple of lawyers.
Yeah,
Finding the right type of lawyer is difficult. An
Fine.
environmental attorney, there aren't too many that are accessible to us, so we're still
You-
trying to find the
Are you
proper
working on
person.
that,
Yes.
Yes, we are.
that now?
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Because, I mean, at some point in time, I know you guys bought it
Oh, absolutely.
without, you know, this guy just filled everything.
We
you
will
know?
absolutely be following up. It's a tough time of year with the holidays and
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even you were saying at some point you might be willing to do a little bit of replication to,
Absolutely.
Yep.
We just need to find out exactly, you sort of guided us last time to find out exactly what the rules are at this point, so we're
Yeah.
trying to seek that information. It's just getting return calls has been difficult.
yeah. Can we put you on the agenda at some point, come in, give us an update?
Yes.
On what's going on this?
yeah, absolutely.
And you can
Yes.
see the problems we face with these
Yes, we heard.
things, and, you know, we're trying to keep them, you know, from people like you falling into that situation.
Yes.
Foot rail fence went away
It went away.
before we bought the house.
And wasn't it arborvitae's also, the
Yes,
vegetation
all of
and,
it was
all
wiped.
gone and filled.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay, well,
Mr. Chairman?
Yep.
I would move that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition.
Second?
all in favor? Aye. You're all set.
Thank you.
Okay. We'll have Brad call you and see if you
Okay.
give him an update, and maybe we can have you come in and tell us what.
For a timeline of that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
thank you.
Okay,
Thank you very much.
all right, thanks. All right, is that send this in? Oh, there you go. Okay, we have another notice of meeting. Again, it's a request for determination of applicability. Notice is hereby given in accordance with provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that Andrew Rudzinski, 70 Sewell Street, Shrewsbury, has filed a request for determination of applicability for the removal of trees at 70 Sewell Street. A public meeting will be held on the above request at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, November 20th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room. Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is Andy Rudzinski, and this is my first time appearing here, so I apologize if I don't really know what I'm doing, because I don't. Yeah. I am looking to take out a number of trees around my house at 70 Sewell Street. So on Sewell Street, the resource would be Newton Pond. The lot that I'm on is, I think, just a little over a 1 acre lot. None of the trees that I'm looking to take out, I think, fall within the 100-foot buffer zone. The lot is a sloping lot. It starts up at the street and goes all the way down to the pond at a pretty steep slope. And so I'm not looking to get rid of anything that's on the slope. There's just a couple of pine trees at the very back where the yard starts to slope down that I think are close, and I think their root systems may go beyond the 100 feet, but I don't know, and I don't really know what the right thing to do with that is. I did speak to an arborist from North Grafton who I'd like to hire to do the work, and his suggestion was to, with those trees, leave the root systems intact, don't do any stump grinding or digging or anything like that. And I'm totally fine with that. I'm actually okay leaving any of the stumps that I'm looking to have the trees removed on.
So when you say no stump grinding, you would actually have cut it as flush to the ground as you can, the tree trunk, and then call it quits right there.
Yes, unless there's something,
Only for those trees that are left on, tight to the banking, right? Or is that all the trees?
I actually don't have any plans right now to do anything else with the lot, so I don't mind leaving any of the stumps. I mean, it's, I guess, really just an aesthetic thing, whether or not to grind the ones that are, you know, closer to the street, but.
How many trees in all?
There's 21 in all that I would like to take out. There's some, and the only reason I'm looking to take 21 at this time is because it's just more economical to have the tree service come once than multiple times. But there's a couple of trees that I have concerns about. There's a big white pine in the backyard that's starting to lean towards the house, and there's a couple of red pines in the side yard that are leaning over the garage and driveway. So I would definitely prioritize those above the rest. And there was an ice storm back, I think in 2011, that actually took down an oak tree that was on the lot that almost hit the house, so I'd like to avoid a situation where one actually does hit it, if it does come down. The soil is not very, the soil is very sandy and gravelly over there, so that's why I worry about the larger trees.
Martha?
I have no trouble with the trees. I do have a question in your pictures. It looks like you have some burning bush in there. Are you familiar with that?
No.
It's a shrub that was planted in landscaping commonly, but it's since been determined to be an invasive species.
Okay.
So if you are, I mentioned that in the case that you would be amenable to taking that out when you take the trees out as well.
So I understand, is it this that's down here at the base of the large pine trees?
Yes.
Yep, I would have no problem doing that.
And you could replace that if you wanted with something like blueberry, which
Okay.
would probably do very well in the sandy soil with all the pine trees.
Okay. I am amenable to that, absolutely.
Jason?
No questions.
Bob?
No question.
Ken?
All set.
Brad?
All set.
You're leaving a lot of trees are staying up, it looks like.
Yes.
I mean, that's just for the record here, that it's not a denuding of this lot by any means, even though it's 21 trees. Okay, anyone in the public have any questions or comments on this meeting?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we issue a negative determination with respect to this petition.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
And the meeting's closed. Okay.
Thank you.
You did well.
Thank you.
Last one? Yep. All right, we have a new public hearing. Notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, that DNI Properties LLC, 44 Ray Street, Webster, Mass., has filed a notice of intent for the roadway extension of Oregon Avenue at 13 to 17 Avon Avenue. Public hearing will be held on the above notice at 7 PM on Tuesday evening, November 20th, in the Selectmen's Meeting Room.
My name is Zachary Bless. I'm from Existing Grade Incorporated. I'm representing DNI Properties for this project. So again, as you stated real quick, the intent of this project in a quick summary is that over here we have Oregon Ave, we have Marietta Ave over here. Some work has been done on this front lot where a new duplex is being built. And the intent of this entire project is to create enough legal frontage along Avon Ave to be able to access this rear lot to create a single-family structure. I don't think this project has been before you previously. I've recently taken this over, and it had gone before the planning board about a year ago. And in doing this, the floodplain had not been determined, so we went out there and found that. And the only real impact that we're creating out here is that this dashed line right here, that is the flood zone elevation of 396. To extend this roadway far enough to get 100 feet of frontage over here, we have to cross into this flood zone with the work that we're doing over here. The wetlands were delineated by Ecotech about a year ago, and HS&T had created this plan. They sent it to me, the base plan, where they had located this. So they had located this little wetland system right here, as well as the edge of the riverbank, all the way down kind of to the east of the site. And I know it's going to be a little difficult to see over here, but the 100-foot buffer zone for this area kind of flows right through here. The majority of the design work, nothing goes into the buffer zone except for what we're doing when we're filling in this floodplain right here. We're doing compensatory replication for what we're filling over there. Just to kind of give some quick numbers on that. We are filling a total of 1878 cubic feet, and with this compensatory replication over here on a foot-by-foot volume basis, We're gonna be replicating just over 2,000 square feet, so we're giving a little more back for what we're filling over here. With this roadway, we have it super elevated so that everything will kind of flow towards these lots. And I have a Cape Cod berm that we're proposing to install with a storm scepter down at the end so we can capture that runoff, treat it, do some infiltration as much as we can get, and then just having a little discharge pipe kind of heading back towards where all this water was currently flowing to. Between the storm scepter and the Caltech, we're achieving over the 80% TSS removal. Again, just as for some quick protection for this site, we have hay bales and a silt fence surrounding the entire perimeter of the work so that nothing can go outside of what we're proposing to do. I guess at that point, I'll kind of open it up to any quick questions you guys might have, preliminary questions.
No, I thought
I'm
it's having
set for now,
trouble following
yeah.
it a little bit.
Sure, what I
Yeah.
can do is, I have like a blow-up sheet here
It's-
that
I'm having trouble on the plan, what's existing and what's proposed on it.
so on the second sheet is kind of a blow-up of what we're proposing to do. So-
What's that, what sheet are we on? What sheet are you on, Zach?
This is sheet 2.
Okay, that's sheet 2.
The other one has the profile on there. Kind
Okay.
of gives a little bit of a detailed area of what we're
That'll-
proposing to do. So as you can see, right around station 86 is the edge of the existing pavement
Okay.
for Oregon Ave. And we're gonna be taking that and extending it down past the property line about 100 feet to get that frontage.
So you're dead end, you're not connecting to Avon?
Replication.
Correct. Avon, it ends kind of up to the north, and then the remainder of Avon down here is just a paper street that has never been
Right.
built. So this will be a dead end. We are requesting all the waivers from the planning board to, and then having them do their full review on this as well.
And the lot you're trying to get the frontage on is right here?
It's to the east of this existing foundation. You can kind of, it's kind of a little difficult to see here, but there's a property line. The second tree that we're proposing to plant for the street tree, there's a property line just to the east of that. Everything to the east of that tree right there is the second lot that we're proposing to do a single residential structure on.
Must be right here, right there.
Yeah.
So everything that side.
Right, so this side.
And then you can see the thick dashed line, that is the flood zone line, and that's everything that we're doing beyond that is what we're trying to compensate for.
And again, that compensation is on the lower end?
Correct, that'll be just south of we're kind of where this hatched in area is on sheet 1, you can see the full entire section of it.
But the compensation is also within the floodplain, the flood zone.
Well, so all it is that. So what it is that within the flood, I'm trying to do it on like a kind of a foot-by-foot basis as we're compensating for it. So the 392 contour, we're pulling this back into the site to create more volume than currently exists there on the 392. So some of this is inside of the floodplain, but I'm trying to, again, do it on a foot-by-foot basis so that as it flows up, we're not increasing the flooding anywhere else outside the
So
site.
what's inside the floodplain is over 392, and you're taking it down to 392?
Correct, yeah, we're digging into what's there now to create some sort of volume compensating for what we're filling.
The floodplain line will actually move. to
Correct, the
392.
floodplain line will, as it stands now, it'll be taking it and pulling it out over this 396. So we'll be pulling it into the site a little bit to, again, make sure that we're compensating for what we're filling.
Jason?
Yeah, we'll see.
Good.
Ken? Good. Brad?
One of the things I didn't see with the application is the stormwater report. Did you prepare one?
I do have one, I do have a copy of it. I think I realized I might have overlooked dropping that off. I can give that to you and I can email you an electronic copy as well.
Okay, yeah, that is something I would like to review.
Sure.
The other concern that I did have with this particular project, and there's a couple of different ways the commission could possibly handle it, is the potential building development wouldn't necessarily trigger Conservation Commission review.
Sure.
But there certainly is the potential for somebody to go in there and then just grade and completely wipe out what you're trying to achieve with the the flood fill and compensatory.
Yeah, I understand.
So if the commission wants to have a special condition that we see a plan showing the proposed building and grading at the time of the building permit comes through, or if they want to see it ahead of time with this process, it's up to them. But I think it's something that we should see just so that we make sure everything in that lot works.
No, absolutely.
That's it for now.
That's it.
So you're suggesting, Brad, that this filing will be a lien on the lot? This will be
Right.
registered, okay.
Yep.
All right.
So we can see it now, we can see it later, but I think at some point we
Yeah.
should see it.
Okay, we have somebody in the, John's in the, John, any comments on this?
I think you did a good job.
Okay. All right, one second, Ken's got something.
So just to touch on what Brad said, so we'll, if we approve this storage, this redesign of the storage, when will we see the lot grading and the siding of the home on this lot? When does he come back to show us that? When do we see it?
When he
I
comes
don't
up
know
with a
when,
plan for the, to build on the lot, right?
when he pulls a building permit, we could,
And it may not be something that the commission has to see, it's gonna be
Oh.
something that we could review when they
Okay.
do the,
Oh, so you'll see it, as long as,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
I mean, it's however you wanna handle it.
that's fine.
So in other words, you wanna make sure the work's in place, I mean,
Well, I want to make sure that that just like what Brad says, it's reviewed either by us or he's going to do it within the office, which is fine. It's just that there's going to be a set of eyes on it prior to the construction of the home and grading of the lot again.
Well, what's the hook, Brad? I mean, this filing is for this lot? Or is it for the, limited
It's
to
for
the
the
roadway?
roadway, but it's on this, the work's on this lot, so there is a lien on this lot,
So the order of conditions will be filed on the lot?
correct? Yeah.
Okay. There won't be a certificate of compliance unless, okay. I'm all set.
okay, there being no further questions, we'll close the hearing.
Good.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Your cards, yeah. Can we have the cards?
Oh, absolutely.
Right here. They're right in this folder, then we won't get lost.
And that too, I think.
You want to put that in the folder too, the report?
I can email you an electronic copy when I get back to the office.
Yeah, if we can keep a hard copy, then send me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
All set, Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, now we're moving into our new and old business and discuss and sign orders of conditions and determinations of applicability.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue an order of conditions for 6 Sherrill Drive for the construction of a driveway crossing, adding a provision that fencing and planting barrier be installed between wetland flags
Yeah,
12 and 19 along the specified erosion control line with boulders interspersed among the plantings of approximately 3 foot or better diameter.
Yep, do we have a second on this?
Second?
Okay, any discussion? I have a question just on this. Did the plantings go the whole length of the driveway, John? Was that the intent?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, to go the whole, but just the boulders were limited to what we said between the wetland flags.
Where the parking area
Yeah.
is, that's where it starts pulling away.
Yep.
In front of the garage door, that's where it pulls away, so, but like where you would drive in from the street.
Right.
where
But to Martha's comment, the rail and the vegetation go the whole length.
Yeah.
Okay.
Why wouldn't the boulders go the whole length?
Well, we discussed that they wouldn't.
I think we call,
17
the
feet.
areas where it was tightest.
Where it was tight, Bob.
I don't care, we can put boulders, we'll put boulders, we'll stagger them along the whole way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so how is it reading with the boulders?
Between
now?
12 and 19,
Between 12 and 19?
yeah.
Yeah, okay,
So that's the whole length.
that's the whole line.
There'll be plenty of boulders.
I'm sure they will.
All right, okay, we had
Okay.
a second, and we had discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
And I abstained, because I was not here for the initial one.
And, Mr. Chairman, I move that we issue an order of conditions for the construction of a wetland replication area at 4 Woodside Drive.
We have a second.
Second.
Any discussion on this one?
I'm not comfortable with it, but,
This is,
As presented.
this is James Tatros.
yeah.
3-to-1 slope with a split rail at the top. I mean,
Is it at the
To
top
me-
or at the bottom?
I'm not sure where he said.
Well, it's
it was
specified on
gonna
the
be,
plan.
But,
The rail?
yeah.
Split rail? I think you could ask for boulders
I
up
would say
there,
put a
too.
few in there at least, you know, you can dress it up as part of the planning scheme, and it becomes something that's a little more concrete, so to speak.
Right.
You think you need them?
And I would,
No, I don't think you
I wouldn't think it, you know, there's so much lawn there.
They're it's 50 feet from the house, and it-
Yeah, but when
and
you
it's
look
down
at
a 3-to-1 slope.
Right, but when you
There's a
look
lot
at,
along
when you
there,
look
so
at
why
that
not
other
replace
house
it
that
in
came,
back?
when you look at that other house that came in, and how much fill was put in that yard. I mean,
Why not
they
dig it?
literally filled the entire wetland.
Yeah, so replicate the wetland.
Yeah, well, that's what we'd hope we could do, but, so what's the story? No stone? Just the split rail
I think
fence
you
then?
need the fence.
All right, no, it's, majority's gonna rule, so,
I want to make tree recommendations. They're red maple and yellow birch.
Okay.
all right. And, so we have a split rail fence and,
With
That's it.
red maple and yellow birch.
okay. So we had our discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, I move we issue an order of conditions to DNI Properties for the roadway extension on Oregon Ave at 13 and 17 Avon Avenue.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
With Brad's condition in there. Right.
Yep.
All right. So now we'll do some signing.
Are we signing the certificates of
Oh,
compliance?
did I sign,
too, or is that
which
later?
one did I sign?
You can sign it even though you didn't vote.
Yeah, that's true, I can.
So you can go to court with it.
Yeah, thanks.
We all go down together.
Yeah.
Certificates of compliance, Brad.
I'm a little bit delayed by the snow this month. But I do recommend that the commission issue the 2 Ficilando Drive. And just to quickly refresh your memory on that one was, gentleman came in for for a certificate of compliance. This was an older project. It was for an addition and driveway reconfiguration. There was some wetland fill on his lot and also the town property adjacent to it. It wasn't done by this particular homeowner, so the work was just completed about a week and a half ago, I believe. Normally, I'd like to view this a couple of growing seasons, but where the gentleman's trying to clear up his title when he did the work, I would suggest the commission issue both of those now. The other one that I think we should issue now is also 73 Spring Street. Looking through our files, that one's actually already been issued, so that's technically just a reissue. There's 2 I haven't had a chance to look at with the snow. That's 8 Meadowbrook Circle and the 143 North Quinsigamon Ave. If the commission's okay, once conditions look better, I'll go out and take a look at it, and I can release that if it looks good.
So should we sign that subject to your inspection?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Why were there 2 certificates for the one address?
For Rolando, correct. Yep, one's an old order conditions, one's the recent one we issued for the. Yeah, that file number on the first one looks incorrect. It's probably 1810, not 1180.
All right, we're down to our last item, discuss and sign enforcement orders, 12 Commerce Road. John? Are you
You-
on?
You want me to give you a quick overview first?
Yes.
Okay, and then John knows some history as well. Okay, so this is the parcel right here. This is an aerial from 2015. To give the commission some history, this is Liberty Assembly of God parcel right here that we have some historical records for. This, I believe, was part of Mr. Canzano's property at one time. He came to the commission for an RDA for this particular wetland right here. This was borderline, subject to jurisdiction as an isolated wetland, but it was just under the volume threshold. So the commission gave it a negative determination. So when you see that that's been altered, just remember that the commission already determined that non-jurisdictional.
It was done with the sham.
It's done with the shame, yeah, that's right. So, stepping back a little bit, we have a process where we do internal reviews for site plans. A lot of times when something doesn't trigger Conservation Commission review or Planning Board review necessarily. So we look at that internally through departments, and we received a set of plans that basically showed development on this lot here. There was a lot line right here, which is the most recent set that I have was from 2015. It showed basically a commercial development on the lot. It showed the building, parking area, drainage system, septic system, what looks like what was actually built, and I'll go to that one next, doesn't completely match that plan. That building's been moved over here. The septic looks like it's in the right spot. If the underground infiltration system's in, it's, you know, maybe under a building here or someplace else. But why I'm bringing this to the commission tonight is since then, this parcel here, in my opinion, based on the records we have, would have triggered conservation review because and I remember walking this at the time when Liberty Assembly of God came through. They came through 2 or 3 times, but the most recent time was for the addition of parking here, and there's actually one that comes up here. And it showed a wetland resource, a pond with a BVW, and there was a little bit of a stream that was coming out of it down in this area here onto this property. So this was jurisdictional, so there would have been a buffer zone associated with that. I didn't look at the time what was happening downstream of that because we were looking for the church site, but presumably that flows down. What's been created since then is a detention pond area. This whole area has been paved. It looks like it's right up to the property line,
I have
which,
some pictures to that.
yeah, which shows that it could be impacting what was there. The biggest concern that I have is, and I viewed the operation of the site a few weeks ago. You basically have a lot of bridge construction forms being laid out in this area. They're power washing them. You can see the dirty water coming into an inlet here and then leaving the site, coming out of the pond down here. I haven't walked anything down here to see what's going on beyond that. But clearly, even if you had a detention pond design, it's not designed for this type of activity. We've since received some proposal to do a type of containment system there. I have not looked at that yet. We received it today. It makes more sense if you're gonna be power washing that you're containing it and not discharging it somewhere. But the reason I'm bringing it for the commission tonight is because, again, I think that this is in violation of the wetlands regs, all of this construction work here.
And I can add to that a little bit. The alteration, this was, I think this was an earlier version, because he did relocate, realign the building. There is recharge for this site. And that went for internal site plan review. There's recharge there, there's a septic system
Shows,
here.
this is the one, John, that I think
I
Brad
think
initially,
the-
so there's your,
Yeah,
there's
the
your lot.
building
The
got,
It's rotated.
it got rotated, and that recharge
But
area is in this area.
What's going on here? over here, that's your recharge.
So recharge is over here?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is your recharge, is that what that is? here?
Yes.
So that, it got moved out?
Actually, you know what, it's not even, it's subsurface detention, because it was all ledge.
Yeah.
I mean, we're splitting hairs, kind of has nothing to do with word tunnel, but it was solid pipes. They had 48-inch, not perforated,
Yeah, yeah.
solid pipes, was underground, it's subsurface detention, because this is all ledge, there wasn't gonna be any recharge. But anyways, that got, this was an earlier version, the building got, aligned this way with with that subsurface detention there. So we had done the permitting for this. Subsequent to that, Clark Realty, well, this is Duva, or Midstate Kitchens. They wanted to expand their lot, that was all ledge. They ended up doing a little deal with Clark Realty where they would blast this and expand their lot, and they ended up trading them or having some type of deal where this was all part of Midstate Kitchen or Duva. So Clark purchased this piece after this. So he bought this separately. Then he turned that into basically a construction storage yard area. He leases that out. It was Maybe Bridge. I think Maybe Bridge got bought out by Sunbelt. But anyway, it's the same business. It's just a different owner. They do a lot of heavy, like you said, stuff for bridge shoring. And I took some pictures actually today, because I talked to Kim Clark, had talked to Brad, he said this was up, so I was like, well, I don't know what's going on, so I went out, took a ride up there, and I took some pictures, so at least you can kind of see at least pictures from today. So this fence line goes along the edge of their lot right here. This over here is this wooded area over here. You can see this is the area that ponds on the Liberty Church property. This is kind of a close-up where they cut into the slope, where there's a lot of ledge, they had cut into this slope. This is a little further back, you can see the ponding area. Ultimately, everything, if this overflows, it comes towards where I was standing, towards the camera. And we had, as Brad said, I was involved in 2007 when that area, that floods and ponds in here, I did some of the site plans, and when Kinzano's hired Descheng to work, and it was determined that that wasn't a resource area. So it was determined there wasn't any resource areas on here. I assume that when Clark had his deal with Kinzano or Duva, he didn't think there's any resource areas on here. When he did his building here, he added that storage lot, leased that out to his tenant. So I took some pictures of what was out there from what I saw today. He was cutting into the slope. He didn't cut any trees down in there. It looks like it might be a little bit, do you have this picture? Yeah, this one. It looks like in this area, it might be tight to the edge of where that kind of ponding and wet area is down here. Anything that comes out of here kind of flows down this way and around that detention basin, and then ultimately ends up going into the woods around Rickers Industrial Park and then down the hill. So I agree. There's definitely, at a minimum, buffer zone work that was done in the buffer zone to this resource area. Whether there was any filling there, I don't know. I couldn't really tell from today. So what their operation is now, and I think they were applying for a permit for, was if they have some shoring big steel plates, whatever that they use at job sites. They bring it back here, they wanna wash it off and then, you know, pile everything back up and store it in their yard. In this area right here, next to the building, kind of near this septic system is raised up. In this area, they want to create a concrete pad with a pit. And it's all, they had sent over, I saw a copy of the specs from the manufacturer. It recycles the water, they reuse the water. Right now, they're using municipal water to hose off everything. They want to drill a well, and so they're not obviously spending all the money on municipal water and recycling the water and reusing it. That really self-contained washing area has a sump. You can drive a Bobcat into it, scoop it up. That material would get taken out by, you know, whether it's I don't know, Clean Harbors, somebody, I don't know. So that would be taken off-site. So what they're looking to do is make sure they want to be washing off their stuff on-site and, again, having it dribble down, go into their basin and making a mess. They do want to have a self-contained unit in this area. So that's the long and short of where we are now. I wouldn't mind having, walking the site, whether you have, I don't know who had done the delineation on this, but maybe reestablish where that is and see if there was, or take a look at it, see if there was anything more than just buffer zone. I don't think that they knew that they were next to a resource area at the time. I think they thought they had a clean lot that they got from Canzanos because there was something that was found not to be wetland. So I don't think, and they did that, I know it was done during the summer because they were blasting and doing, I think that might have been dried up. I don't think they knew that there was a resource area there when they did that.
When was all this paved? 10 years ago, or?
No, that's recent,
I did-
it's less than a couple of years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you been engaged?
This is
Are you-
2015.
I found out about this today.
Okay.
So as a courtesy, I told him,
Yeah.
you know, Kim was gonna come, I said, let me just go
And you're here on behalf of this owner?
I'm here for this owner.
Who did the engineering, John, for the pavement on when the second lot was acquired here? You know.
When Bob Clark was seeing what he, you know, looking at expanding this lot and what he could do over here, I laid out, because Duva wanted more yard area, I said, yeah, they can expand that way, and you can get this. So they asked me about this. I wasn't aware of anything off-site over at Liberty. I know I had done the work back in 2007 where this was, for when this got shown as non-jurisdictional. So I knew there wasn't any resource areas on-site. At the time, I had just said, yeah, you can do this, you can expand that, it'll work out for both parties. And in all honesty, I didn't even look to see if there was anything off-site. I just knew that we had done this stuff in 2007 that showed that
But
there wasn't
focusing on
anything.
the isolated wetland
That
mainly,
was-
and then not looking down along the,
Well, this is all up, this is up gradient from him.
yeah.
I know that Rickers, this is the back building over at Rich Rickers, so I knew there wasn't anything in this area. I knew there, and if everything kind of flows this way. So in all honesty, I'll take credit, I wasn't thinking of Liberty. There was all ledge and they were up gradient, so, I was looking at what they could do here. I wasn't thinking about up gradient.
So
So
what is,
I'll take some credit for that.
so Brad, what is the current status here? Have we issued anything to them?
We
A cease
haven't
and
issued
desist or
anything for
nothing?
them, no.
And the issues are a possible wetland and
Buffer zone.
buffer zone violation here, and of course, a discharge.
Right, you have an unpermitted point source
Yeah,
discharge.
okay.
Which
So we
they are-
should issue a cease and
So
desist,
they're
right?
trying to get a permit through the building.
Isn't
build-
DEP also involved in something like that? It's an industrial activity, right? I mean, and you're doing, it's considered I would check into that before you
I don't
find
know.
out that you run into
I
a
don't know.
DEP
I
problem.
know they were,
NPDES is typically.
Yeah, I mean, it's gotta be someone regulates that discharge, potentially.
well, they're trying to have it self-contained so
Yeah.
that they're not discharging
Yeah.
anything. So I can look into that. But I know they were trying to do something so that they're not letting dirty, stuff that comes, they hose off their plates, they hose off everything, they don't wanna discharge it. They were gonna do a self-contained
Okay.
pad, so that's the direction they were going.
But we should issue or issue a cease and desist anyway. For those two issues.
No.
No more washing until they,
Get,
get submitted order conditions, notice of
well,
intent.
can they submit, in my opinion, I think to get this self-contained wash pad done makes sense, because
Yeah.
then they wouldn't,
I mean,
I don't know, what
I'd
do you
wanna
think?
see a site plan, not just the spec, I mean, I glanced at what was sent, it looks just like a spec from the manufacturer,
It
and I'd
is.
wanna see something specific to the
Okay.
site before we went
Yeah,
too
you have
far
to
with it.
talk to Brett,
Okay.
we've gotta get something on record, obviously.
Understood.
And, as to what gets filed, I would think the first guy you should satisfy is Brad,
Alright.
and,
So I'll give you a call tomorrow. I'll come up with, any, plans or information I have, and, come up with a plan of attack to try to, I think the ultimate goal is to make sure that they're not hosing off anything. If there's any other permits, whether it's through DEP,
Yeah.
well, we'll take a look into
yeah,
that. I'll
well,
make a few
that's
phone
something you'll have
calls.
to figure out, yeah.
I'll look into that, and maybe we can take a look at the site. So,
Okay. But again, I think the most important thing is talking to them, that they don't, I mean, they're
Yeah.
pretty active out there, and that needs to stop at this point.
yeah, I went up to take a look, and they were like, they have big fork trucks going there, moving their piles of.
Well, we can't, we're not gonna stop them from doing their business, we're gonna stop them from washing, right?
But that's
part
what
of their
they're,
business.
that's a
Yeah.
big part of their business
Well,
right
I know,
there,
but
yeah.
I mean,
Unless
that's.
they don't do any
yeah.
washing
Yeah,
on site.
yeah,
I
we
don't know
can't,
where else they can do it, but.
we're not gonna stop them from using their laydown area, right?
Right,
We're
correct,
just,
yep.
no more washing.
So what they'll probably have to do is, whatever site those forms are coming
Yeah.
from, take care of it on that site.
Before it
and
comes
Take
onto
care of it there, you know.
And then we'll get in.
Have them bring it back clean.
Yeah,
Okay. And then we'll get, whatever procedures need to be in place for that wash pad.
Yep.
Get everything
Yeah.
on a plan and get it
and
through.
also deal with this issue here.
Okay,
Cool.
understood. All
You
right,
need a vote for that?
Yeah, do you wanna set any timelines or anything in terms of
Well-
the filing, or you want me to work that out with the?
Yeah, I think we'll work out a reasonable time.
I think they want to get that,
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
pretty
I-
imperative.
So we'll just get,
wanna
we'll
get
just
that.
get the cease and desist part right now.
It's
Yeah.
a washing again.
Yeah.
Is that work that's going to be done in the buffer zone? Is it near, is it within 100 feet of the wetlands? Why can't they just do the work?
for the wash pad.
Yeah.
Well, because
it's not
Well,
because they're in
what I was-
violation
What I
now.
was suggesting is that they could do it, but we'd wanna see the engineered part of it, cause
Correct.
what
Yeah.
they sent us was just.
No, absolutely,
Yeah.
but so not to impede their business, if it's not within the buffer zone, they could proceed in doing it as long as they got the permits you need from the town.
Well,
Right, and show you exactly what they're
can't have
doing.
the runoff leave the site. You can't have,
Right.
wash water's
No,
not
you're
a
not
site,
gonna let
so-
them wash, you're not gonna let
Oh,
them
yeah.
wash, but they can, if they construct
Yeah.
a wash pad with a self-contained, unit
Yep.
that doesn't allow for runoff, and it's not within a buffer zone, they should be able to construct it.
They should, unless there's any replication involved, and you wanna make sure they cite that so that it,
Well, it would be
It's
done,
impede.
it's gonna be done in this area,
Yeah.
kind of next to the building.
okay.
I think if there was anything that needed to be done for.
It's all gonna be
but
in that
It would be
corner.
over in this
Okay,
area.
as long as that's understood that, you
Yeah.
don't wanna
And
paint yourself in a corner.
ultimately, John, we need to see an existing condition plan of what's there now too. Just showing us everything, I was able to figure out that there was a basin, out here that was going into there, that was the source of all that muddy water. But I don't know drainage wise what's happening where, cause it's not, like I said, I don't have the latest set of plans
Right. All right, I'll
according
put,
to you tonight, and I've got some concerns about the septics being here and having the basin here too.
And there should be some, at least a look, if not an assessment of any issues that have happened downstream. I mean,
yeah, when I
Depending on
looked
how-
today, I
yeah.
didn't see anything.
Okay.
There was a lot of rain and snow, everything was clean
Yeah.
that I saw today, but I'm sure
Okay.
there might have been times when they had washing and.
It was,
things.
it was dirty when I watched them wash, and what was
Yeah.
going in and what was coming out didn't look good.
Okay. All right, well, I'll put together what I got, we'll get the information on this and whatever we have to do for permitting wise, so we can get them going, so they can keep any of the wash water self-contained.
And we're due for rain beginning of the week. That might be a good time to just walk this whole area and see what's happening downstream too, if you want to try to schedule something with me.
Okay. Sounds good to me.
All right.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Keep these, too.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Okay. Ready for you now.
Anything else? Anything else, Brad?
Just a quick update, the Nelson Point project, last month, the commission denied order conditions for that has been appealed. I have no schedule yet from DEP. I don't think they've assigned it to an agent yet, but they did reach out to us just looking for, records in our files to see what we had. They reached out to the consultant and also us, and they're just gathering the information at this point.
Okay. That's it? So,
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Good.